Hello everyone, I'm Radila Mukoni. I am the creator of what is now called the Vision Statement 1911-2030. I'm here to interview Beatrice Achaleke, the founder of Globuntu and the author of Follow Me to Africa. Beatrice, hello.
Hello, Radila.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. My voice is not very good, but we're going to get through this.
We'll make it. We will make it. So, Follow Me to Africa, conversation with Beatrice 1 year after a radical relocation back to Africa. This was 20 years of hard work and outstanding achievements in Europe. Beatrice, let's talk about your book. How did writing that book change your life?
Writing that book changed my life in many ways. You know, when I've been living for 20 years in Europe, I've been into so many things, but I got stuck in that point where I started asking myself who I really am and what my vision and purpose in life was like. So things really went wrong. So when you read that book, you come to the first chapter, it says shit happens. And it really happened massively. And I made up the decision to write a book.
Okay.
In that book, I was looking for myself. I was asking questions. I was talking to myself. And I came about this idea of finding someone who is bigger than me, that was in a bigger than I was. And so, thank you. And so I found Madiba and got into this conversation with him, and the transformation was unstoppable. So after writing that book, I took the courage to relocate to South Africa. And since then, I think you can see I'm a different person. People who know me will see I'm a different person. I speak differently, I think differently, I act differently. I interact with people who are different. So the transformation has been very massive.
Absolutely. Unspoken conversation with Nelson Mandela. How did you come about that?
You know, someone said when you get stuck, when you're in a very difficult situation, that's when you become creative. That's where you're most creative. And so when I got stuck in what happened, I just thought, like, you need someone that you can look up to. And it has to be someone who is from an environment, a culture that you understand. It has to be someone whose shoes are so big that you can grow inside. It has to be someone that no one ever thinks that you have a connection to. And so the person that fulfilled that profile was none other than Madiba. And so I just very boldly, audaciously, unapologetically got into a conversation with him. And since then, so much has happened, and I'm glad I did that conversation.
Interesting, because now, okay, why unspoken?
Unspoken because I never got a chance to meet him.
Okay.
You know, I have to share a secret with you.
Please.
My grandmom, who used to be the pillar of my life, passed when I was already in Austria. I didn't have the chance to go for her burial. And so I found this thing, I don't know how to name it, but I found this ritual of always talking to her when I needed her. And I consoled myself with the fact that now that she's passed, she has plenty of time for me. Okay, she needs no visa to visit me in Austria.
Exactly. She can be right there.
She can be right there. And Madiba was someone who was always very busy. In her lifetime, I don't think a small fish like me would have had a chance to meet him. But when he's passed, you can create that conversation with him.
Absolutely.
He has all the time for you. You can, ask all the questions. You can just enjoy the time with him. That's one of the good things that comes when someone is gone to the other side of this continent.
The other side of the world, eh? So how long did it take for you to write that book?
6 weeks.
6 weeks?
It's 344 pages. And you see, it took 6 weeks because the story was in there. It was cooking. I just had to take it out. So it took me literally 6 weeks to write those pages. And inside there is quite a lot. If you haven't read that book, make sure you get a copy.
Make sure. I'm reading it. Interesting book, definitely. So let's talk about maybe the selling. What's the general reception like for the book?
Right, that's a very interesting question. People keep asking, and people ask for this book. The truth is, I've not been really selling the way I should have.
Okay, wow.
Because I wrote this book for me.
Okay.
I didn't have an answer. I was just hesitant to sell. I sold to the few people who were closer to me, but I was hesitant to take it to the big market.
Okay.
And I asked myself recently why, and it dawned on me that I wrote that book for me. I needed it to heal. And I've been healing through my transformational journey over the past months. And when I realized that the healing is, is one that is visible. It's something that I can talk about. Now we're taking it out. And I guess that's why I say you better get your copy.
Yes.
You see, the transformation works for me. So the conversation in that book is a conversation that may work for you. And now I'm ready to take that book to the market.
Excellent, excellent. And why do you call this book your masterpiece? Why masterpiece?
I've written a couple of books before Follow Me to Africa, and they were all in German. When you move from your culture into a different culture where you have to struggle to be assertive, to be recognized, to be part, to belong, to be to make people understand that you're competent, you turn to forget who you really are. So I wrote my first books in German. And when I started writing Follow Me to Africa, something happened. It was automatically in English.
Oh.
I don't know why it happened, but it just clicked in the head.
And English is not your first language?
English is my first language of instruction.
Okay.
But I haven't been using this language for 20 years. And so when you start reading that book, I struggled. I struggled to write that book in English. But I eventually got into the flow because I knew this book was going to be my masterpiece. And I wanted my masterpiece to be in English. And the reason why it is my masterpiece is not just the language. It's not just a conversation, but it's the fact that inside that book, you see the real Beatrice that not many people know. So people know me to be focused, people know me to be strong, people know me to be always in control. But in that book, you see the other side of Beatrice, a woman who is insecure, a woman who... you see all my imperfections in there. You see a single mom who struggles. You see someone who is constantly everywhere, but she can't pick up her bills up to the point where she's about to be kicked out of her house with her kids. So it's that book that really takes me into a journey with myself, a very, very transparent journey. And so it's a masterpiece because it gives you a complete picture of who I really am.
Yeah. In the book, what is your favorite chapter?
That book has quite a number of chapters. Each one of them is my favorite. I love each one of them. Starting from the prologue, shit happens. It really shows you where I was, in which mindset I was, and how I learned how to embrace what happened to me to create who I became. It dawned on me that it's not very much about what happens to you. It's about how you deal with what happens to you, and mostly about who you become after that which happens to you, which you could not stop. So every chapter is my favorite, but the chapter that really got me into my transformation is the chapter on the uncomfortable conversations. When I learned how to overcome fear, when I learned how to give it a name, when I learned how to overcome the things that people will consider to be obstacles, or those that I have been putting on my ways. That's when I kicked my excuses goodbye. I had to walk my own walk, no matter how tall my grandmother was. Someone said that I have to do my own tolling. I don't know if that is English.
She didn't get tall for you.
So you can have all the tools. If you want to transform, you have to walk your own transformation. Nelson Mandela did his own long walk to freedom. So you always have to. And so that chapter on uncomfortable conversation is one of my favorite. I read it almost every day.
And uncomfortable conversations can take out secrets and real goodness in people,
Especially fears.
Absolutely.
It can take away fears. It can give you a vision.
Absolutely. So in the first edition of the book, you had some typos, which you always say you are proud of. Why?
I'm very proud of those typos because I can change them on the first edition. They're just there. So I learned to say what you can't change, you just embrace it. And also because I'm that person who is very passionate about writing. And I tell people, don't stop writing your story just because you fear to make mistakes. You don't just wake up in the morning and you become perfect. And making mistakes is a way of learning, is the journey to becoming perfect. And those typos inside, I'm so proud of them because I want to use them to tell people who come to my masterclass for writers to be courageous. And you see, I live through, by this philosophy of Ubuntu, which says I am because you are. So if I want to be perfect in everything that is in my book,
Sure.
I take away a job from someone else.
Yeah.
Okay, editors need money to feed their families. So you have to write and make all the typos and use the I am because you are to get someone else clean it up. So I'm very proud of those typos because they show you that I embrace my imperfections and that not even the fear of making typos stopped me from writing that story when it was ready to get out.
Your sister friend, Erica Dunlop,
Yes.
former Miss America, in her preface of the book, calls it, and indeed you seem to go to court with yourself in that book. Why?
I go to court with myself because, sometimes we have all these excuses and we point fingers at people for the things that we think we should have, which we don't, who we should have become and are not. We hold people responsible and accountable. When we hold ourselves accountable, when we start to hold ourselves accountable for who we become, for what we want to have, then we claim it. Then we claim it. So going to court with myself was my way of kicking all those excuses goodbye. It was a way of telling myself, you will have to do your own long walk to transformation.
Sure.
It was a way of telling myself, if you have to do that, you have to be extremely transparent. You have to give it a name, you have to give it a color, you have to give it a space.
Sure.
If you know what the color looks like, you know where the space is, and you know the name, you can kick it out. Okay? So that is what was in going to court with myself. It was to take away the excuses and really walk that walk that will take me to my next masterpiece.
You titled the prologue "Shit Happens," which was equally the title of your 2014 TED Talk. What happened, and have you completely cleaned it up?
I'm still cleaning, Radile. So much happened.
Yeah.
When you read through that prologue, you realize it started by business running down. So, excuse me, when you're an entrepreneur like I am, a single mom, you have quite a lot of responsibilities, and you depend on your customers to pay you timely, so you can pay your customers. And again, that's the principle of I am because you are. You can be the best entrepreneur, but if you don't have customers who are paying you and paying you timely, you can't pick your bills. So it happened to me, and it was like one thing happened after the next. When there's no money, what do? You cut down cost. So the first point was give away your office and your staff. And then it means when you give away office and staff, you have the bulk of work to yourself. And before I could process that, I noticed that I haven't picked up my rental for 2 months. And my landlord didn't find that funny at all. So he launched a court case. And I got this threat to be thrown out of my house. It was towards Christmas, it's winter in Europe, man.
Oh, man.
So that happened, and before I could process that, my kid brother died. He was just 33. And, we Africans, if you can't go home to bury your people when they die, it's such a thing. If you can't mourn with them, it's such a terrible thing. So that happened. I had no money to go home. I had no money to go to the U.S. to join my family, to bring my brother back home. And just before that one could be done, something more was in. It was like the universe said, okay, you need it, you get it. They all swore against me. So the next thing was my son was diagnosed diabetic, and I was in the midst of that. And that was not all. So much more happened. You have to read Follow Me to Africa to find out what happened more. So I just had to clean that up and move on. And when I got given that chance to speak at TED, I was going to be speaking about something else. But when I walked on that stage, something told me, you have to speak. You just have to talk about shit happens, because that's what it is, because it's happening to many people, and not everyone has the chance to speak at TED. And TED is a perfect forum to position some things, some topics, and the responses that I got from people, until today, people are still writing from different places and saying, Beatrice, I listened to your TED Talk and it made my day. Beatrice, I could pull up myself and I'm cleaning up my shit. And so I just had to put it up there. And believe me or not, today I'm so thankful that that happened. Because if it hadn't happened, I would still be sitting in Europe. You and I will not be having this conversation. And there's so many things that have happened will not be there. There will be nothing like Follow Me to Africa.
True.
So you see, sometimes when your gift, your biggest gift comes wrapped in sandpaper or wrapped in shit, you turn away and say, it smells. But if you fail to unpack it, you miss the opportunity. And I think in that thing that happened to me, it got me to be transparent with myself, to go to court with myself in order to discover my greatness. And if it happens today, I say, come, I'm waiting for you. I'm ready.
I'll pack you up.
I'll pack you up.
All right. For whom did you write the book?
I wrote that book for me.
For yourself.
I wrote it for me, and it's still for me. But since I know that there are many people that get into the same situation that I got into, and I know how helpful this book has been to me, I encourage anyone who is out there who is having a challenge. It may just take for you to change the way you look at your challenge, for your challenge to change. It may become the opportunity. Okay, so that book is for you if you think that you are facing a challenge that is too big for you. That book is for you if you think you're living a life that is less than the word that you know you're worth. And I'm borrowing this word from Madiba again. There is no passion in settling for a life which is less than the one that you know you're capable of living. Okay, that book is for you if you're a single mom and you're struggling with your bills and you're looking for a way out. That book is for you if you're an immigrant and you constantly have to justify yourself, your being, in an environment that doesn't really accept you for who you are. That book is for you if you're a black woman and you just want to embrace your blackness so you don't have to fight anymore. You just want to be. That book is for you if you're an entrepreneur and you just think like, I need to change my challenges or I need a new unique selling proposition for my business. How do I go about it? It is for you if you're interested in knowing how Globuntu will work, how it is working. It worked for me. And that book is my testimony about how Globuntu works. So you see, the book is for a range of people. It's written for a range of people, people who are looking for a new perspective. But above all, it is written for me. It is my masterpiece.
Yes. Great book, great book. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Beatrice Achaleke, the author of Follow Me to Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's